it's Mo, and I'm back with another basement box book unboxing, haul and unhaul. And I do have some stats because I've kind of been guessing the last few times that I've filmed these. Oh, if you don't know what this series is, it is where I go through all the boxes that have been in my basement since we moved in 2015, and I go through them. I decide whether I want to keep the books that are in the boxes, whether I want to put them back in the basement, put them on my red shelf if they happen to be books that I've already read or part of collections that I have that I keep on my red shelf, or if hopefully not, I want to put them on my TBR because my TBR is far too large. So I'm hoping to pare down my TBR, not add more to it, but I have added some to it. I keep saying that we're almost at 500 books. We're almost at 500 books. We're not at 500 books yet. So far, we have unboxed 18 boxes from the basement with a total of 430 books between those 18 boxes. 234 of those I have kept in total, and 110 of the 430 books that we've unboxed have been unhauls. So that's about 25% unhauls. And then out of the books that we've kept, those 234 books, 39 of them have gone on my TBR, which is about 15% of the 234. 14 of them have gone on my red shelf, either because I've already read them or because they were part of collections that sit on my red shelf. So not quite as many books down there as I had thought. A lot of the books that I've kept are actually comics. I'm looking at a huge stack of comics, and the comics I haven't really been counting. I should go through and count all the ones that I've kept. Today we have two giant boxes of books, two very large boxes of books to go through. Box number 19 and 20. And the first book, I don't know where this came from, I think it was just down in the basement, is No, and this is a literary and art magazine, so mostly poems and short essays, and then also there's a section in the middle here that has paintings. And I know that this was edited by my friend Deb Clouden Mann, and so that's why I have this. So I will definitely be keeping this. I don't think if I read it, I read like parts of it here and there, poems occasionally, but I think I would keep this and put it in with like the comics and literary magazines. I've been kind of keeping those together. And then the next thing that we have is a unopened package that feels like a book. It feels like it's going to be maybe like a children's book or something from the Book Depository. So I don't think I've ever ordered from the Book Depository, which obviously now doesn't exist anymore. It has it has one of my old Brooklyn addresses on it. I don't know what it is. I thought we would unbox it together and find out what it is. Oh my god, I can't even get it open. I went back through some emails to see if I could find it. I searched my email and I couldn't find anything from Book Depository. So I have no idea what this is. It's at least 8 years old, possibly 9 years old, possibly older than that. I would guess, because it's still wrapped up, that it's something that I got like right before we moved and just never opened it. So I don't know what it is. So let's find out. Oh wow, it is not what I expected at all. It is Joseph Cornell, Master of Dreams, and it is a big beautiful art book on Joseph Cornell. My husband loves Joseph Cornell, so maybe I got it for him as like a gift. Does this have a date on it? 2012. So I got this in 2012. Oh, it was through Amazon. So it's a used art book. I bet I did get it for my husband, and then I forgot about it, or I didn't ever open it, or maybe I was going to return it. Who knows? But there it is. A brand new used book from 2012. Fascinating. Maybe I'll give it to him this year as a present. So I'm going to put that on the side. Next we have this big box here. So we'll just get into it. And this box says Books Packed 1/9/21. So that is after I started my BookTube channel, because I started it in 2020. But before I started my RAB spreadsheet, my recently acquired book spreadsheet. So these are books from a long time ago that got packed away. This is not a book. This is like a fake book. Oh, there it is. This is a fake book that my husband made. So this was a real book, but then he hollowed it out to make an art piece in. So that doesn't count. So this looks like it's quite a bunch of stuff that's not books. This is like a Woody Guthrie CD pack. This is an old Webster's Dictionary. Maybe we only have one box of books here. This is another book. It looks like it was going to get hollowed out. There's some magazines in here. There's a big sketch pad. Okay, there are some books in here. Let's see if we can get to the heart of the books. Magazine. Okay. I finally found some books in there. Okay, so we have Backyard Chickens and Other Poultry. This is a book, a manual, a reference book about backyard chickens. We have often thought about getting backyard chickens. I would keep this book, but I would put it on my reference shelf. And then we have the classic Philip Jose Farmer, 1964 to 1973. And we have quite a few of these as well. They're short story collections of Philip Jose Farmer's work. We'll be keeping those, putting it back in the basement though. Don't need to have that on my TBR because I have some Philip Jose Farmer on my TBR already. The next book is Wild Ducks Flying Backwards. I believe that this is short stories by Tom Robbins. I have a Tom Robbins section on my shelf. Even though I've never read this one, I'm going to put it on my red shelf in my Tom Robbins collection. Then we have Greenwood Cemetery, Walk Battle Hill and Back. So this is like a little guidebook we were given, and then this is a map of Greenwood Cemetery. Greenwood Cemetery is located in Brooklyn. It's one of my all-time favorite places. I think this can also go on reference. A couple of boxes ago, I talked about guidebooks, and so this can go with that. And then we have a book that I do remember buying. It is A Year in Japan by Kate T. Williamson. And this is a really gorgeous book that was a travel log. So it was like her travel diary. And then it has illustrations as well. I would definitely like to read this one. So I think I would put this on the TBR. The next book is Getting Things Done, The Art of Stress-Free Productivity. I remember buying this book from a used online bookstore. This is one that I don't think I would ever read as a book. I think if I were going to read this, well, I don't know, maybe not. It is kind of broken up in a weird way. This is a maybe. I have to look into this. I got it at least 4 years ago and I haven't read it for a reason. So will I ever read this? I probably won't, but it's a maybe right now. We have another, the classic Philip Jose Farmer. This is 1952 to 1964. So preceding the last one we looked at. I will be keeping this but putting it back in the basement. The Glory of Their Times, the story of the early days of baseball told by men who played it by Lawrence S. Ritten. This can stay and go on our baseball shelves, which is like our reference shelves for baseball books. We have Tales of Terror and Mystery by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. This is appropriate because it is home for the holidays this month. Not the month you're watching it in, but the month that I'm filming this in. But I don't think I want to keep this one on the TBR, so I'll put it in the basement. And then we have S, which is this really weird book by J.J. Abrams. And I think I already had a copy of this in another box. So I did think I had 2 copies. This one is open, and this is a really cool book because it's literally a book within a book where you get a book and then in the book there's writing in a book and then there's all this like stuff in the book as well. Different postcards and newspaper clippings, and there's a lot of notes in the margins of the book within the book. So this one is really cool and I would like to keep it, but I think I have 2 copies and I don't need 2 copies. I know that if I already unpacked the other copy I put it in the basement. I have to go back and check my lists and see if I did or not. If I did, this one can get unhauled to someone or somewhere, and if I did not, I will put it in the basement. Next we have the Vegetarian Cookbook. It is very dusty. It is a cookbook, obviously, and it's a vintage cookbook, so I will be keeping this. I used to have a cookbook section, and I got rid of almost all of them, and I put the rest in my reference shelf, so I'm going to put that on reference. And then I also have Vegetarian Classics. Who uses cookbooks? I think because this one is vintage, I'm definitely keeping this one, and has illustrations and stuff, but this one I'm going to unhaul. If I haven't looked at it in 4 years, do you really need it, you know? Alright, we have Prospect Park and the Brooklyn Botanic Garden. We'll keep that and put it in reference. And along with that, we have another Greenwood Cemetery. This is a different walk and a different map. So we will keep those and put them in our reference shelf. And then we have Stuff on My Cat presents Wet Cats. And this is photos of wet cats. I love cats very much, but like, I don't need this book. This can definitely get unhauled into a little free library. And that was everything in this really giant box. Box number 19 had 14 books plus a big old pile of miscellaneous stuff. Out of those 14 books. We are unhauling 3 books. We're putting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on the reference shelf. That's a lot. We are putting 1 on the TBR. We are putting 1 on the red shelf. And we have 4 going back in the basement. Moving on to the next box. This one says Good Books and VHS packed 4/21. So April of 2021. Again, these are books that I've had since starting BookTube, but before starting my RAB spreadsheet. And it looks like right on the top there's quite a few VHSs, some manga, some old X-Men VHSs. So I think these, you know, they're sentimental. Monty Python, sentimental VHSs. I don't have a VHS player anymore. But Pokemon. Alright, so the first book that I see is Frederik Pohl, The Far Shore of Time. Frederik Pohl is an author that I've never read, but my husband likes, so we keep these. It'll probably go back in the basement. Harry Cat's Pet Puppy. I know that I read this a very long time ago. It's a great vintage copy with sprayed edges. This, I believe, is a sequel to, what was that book? A Mouse in Times Square or something. It's about a cat and a mouse who meet each other in New York. Like I said, I've probably read this one, but I don't remember. It's got great illustrations. I'm gonna put this on the TBR. Harry Cat's Pet Puppy is by George Selden. This is Here at the Scenic Motel by Thelma Hatch Weiss. This is like a vintage young adult. I just love the cover, but am I ever gonna read this? It is told in like diary form. I think this has to go in a maybe pile for right now. This is What is Meditation? I think I got this at a library sale. I do love the cover and I like just the name of it, but I'm never gonna read this, so I'm gonna unhaul it. And then we have Beyond Death's Door, the Life After Life bestseller. And I think I got this because of the vintage cover, but I'm also never gonna read this. Some more VHSs, Wayne's World, and X-Men. This is In Relation to the Whole, 3 essays from 3 decades. This is like about a young artist. How does he orientate himself? I think we can keep this, but it can go back in the basement. I just think this is such a great cover. It is The Condemned of Atona by Jean-Paul Sartre. I don't know if I'll ever read this, but it's such a good cover. I'm gonna keep it, put it in the basement. Then we have a very beat up copy of Gulliver's Travels. Do I need to keep this? Here's the part of the cover. I think we can unhaul this. 7 Tears into the Sea by Terry Farley. I don't know what this is about. It's a young adult novel. I don't need to keep that. This is Flannery O'Connell, The Complete Stories. I've never read any Flannery O'Connell, but I know my husband likes them. This is probably his book. We'll keep that in the basement. And I also know he really likes this book, A People's History of the United States by Howard Zinn. Very wet looking, like it got very wet, but we'll keep that and put it in the basement. That's also his book. A beautiful copy of James and the Giant Peach with illustrations. Absolutely gorgeous. I will put this on the TBR because I don't think it deserves to go in the basement, but I don't know when I'll get to it. 4 Past Midnight by Stephen King. I don't read any Stephen King. I don't know if my husband wants this. If he wants it, we'll keep it. If not, it's gonna go. This is a desk calendar from 2007. It's the Writer's Desk. I got this because Kurt Vonnegut was doing a signing and Kurt Vonnegut signed this and I got to meet him in person before he passed away, so I can put this on my Kurt Vonnegut shelf. Another kind of old book, it's called A Short History of the United States and it is by, it's a Random House book. It is by Alan Nevins and Henry Steele Kamager. I don't think I need this book. It's cute. If my husband wants it, we'll keep it, but if not, we'll let it go. Then we have Estasia, which is a fairy tale by Francesca Leah Block. I love Francesca Leah Block, and I did keep one of her books out that we've already found, but this one I think can go in the basement. Oh, and here's another Francesca Leah Block book. So like, I just loved Francesca Leah Block so much when I was younger. I have a soft spot in my heart for her books. Will I ever read another of her books again? I'm not entirely sure. So those can go in the basement, but you know, they might eventually go up to the collection of her books. This is Let the Great World Spin by Colum McCain. I had seen this and I thought it was so cool. I loved the cover. But I think since then I've decided that I'm not interested in it, so we're going to unhaul this one. This is a book that I know I got used online, and it is the TerraCycle Family Guide to Zero Waste Lifestyle. Make Garbage. I hate to say the name though, so let's not say it. But it's a TerraCycle Life to Garbage, so it's all about garbage and trash and how wasteful our society and our world is. And then it's also about like recycling and how it works, but then it also has instructional things that you can do. I'm never going to look at this. I got it forever ago. That can go. Playtime America at Leisure by Mark Jury. It is a vintage book. I got it at a book sale and it's just very cool. I think this one can go on the reference shelf. Cruel Shoes by Steve Martin. We've had a Steve Martin in here before. Am I ever going to read a Steve Martin? This seems to be all like vignettes, short essays, short stories, poems. I don't need to keep this. And lastly, we have The Rosewood Casket by Sharon McCrum. I've often thought about going back and reading more Sharon McCrum. Sharon McCrum is like a cozy mystery writer, I guess, from the 80s. I got into her because I read Bimbos of the Death Sun, which I really liked, which was like a spoofy sci-fi. I think she was writing in the 80s and 90s. I'm going to keep this one, put it back in the basement. Box number 20 had 20 books in it. It also had 10 VHSs in it, but the majority of those we're going to unhaul. Some of them are going to go back in the basement. One of them is going to go on the reference shelf. And one of them, even though it's not a book, is going to go on the red shelf. So that was box 19 and 20. Let me know if you've read any of the books that I read here. Let me know if you think I should prioritize any of the books. If you think some of the books I kept I should get rid of. Some of the books that I got rid of I should keep. Thanks so much for joining me today, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!